But now I know it's Friday because I'm looking at you, and I get it. It's Friday. It's Fast Friday. We'll talk to Andy Reid a little bit later, and that's how it'll go. I do want to talk to you, Stan, about the college football playoff before we get into some Chiefs stuff. Let's just go backwards. Talk about yesterday's game first. What did you think of the Sugar Bowl? I know everyone thinks the SEC is just going to dominate everything. Notre Dame looked every bit as big and strong and fast as that Georgia team looked, in my estimation. And Georgia had a backup quarterback playing. But Notre Dame played great football their first two games here in the playoff.
The theme that I had all year long to start with is parity. I thought there were no great teams out there. I never bought into Oregon was a great team. I know we haven't got to that game yet, but I never bought into that. Georgia has a pedigree of knowing when to turn it on. We talk about the Chiefs a little bit, right? That when it's playoff time, they have an advantage. They understand preparation, the speed of the game picking up, all those things. The Chiefs have an inherent advantage. They just play better than they would in a regular season, and I think Georgia has that. And Georgia showed some of that in the second half. When they get fired up and get ready to roll, they can bring it, and they've done that all year long. They've trailed in 9 games this year, and yet they won, obviously, most of the football games. So they're a football team that they understand what championship-level play is, but they're really not that great of team. It's not the same as that team 3 years ago that had NFL starters who were backups on the defensive side, right? I mean, just an unbelievable first-round pick type of team. There were no dominant teams in college football. That was my theme. Now back to the game that you spoke about specifically. The thing that Notre Dame does, my analysis, I picked Notre Dame to win the game yesterday because they're just good at everything. They're not great except for special teams, and they dominated in special teams. You get a kickoff return in a low-scoring game for a touchdown, that's big. Momentum-wise, but scores, just 7 points. How hard was it to get 7 points for these teams, and they take it back? And in every punt, Notre Dame's been a punt-blocking menace for the last 3 or 4 years.
Too far early in the game. I don't know.
He ran into the punter 2 times in a row. Todd's talking about.
I don't know what you have to do to get a personal foul on that anymore. Those look like pretty good.
You got to hit the plant leg, which is ridiculous. You kill the guy in his leg that's up in the air, and
he got hit hard twice.
Exactly.
But
5-yard penalty.
I was like, "What are you doing? It's early in the game. Or you got away with one, and they did it again, and they got away with it
that
again."
individual player who ran into the punter twice to start the game, and it never cost Notre Dame, had blocked 3 punts already this year. And so they're really, really good on special teams. They're solid across the board. Riley Leonard's just good enough to run when he needs to, throw when he needs to. And I just thought that their solidness would play out, their special teams advantage would take advantage of Georgia having a backup quarterback. It matters a little bit, probably. But Georgia's never been great all year long at the quarterback position. So the parity play was really there because when the college football playoff announced their picks of, here's the first best place team, and they went 1-25, right? Forget the seeding, conference champions. They told us, like they have in the past, here are the best teams. It used to be we stopped at 4 and said they get to play in the college football playoff. And my stance is always, no one can tell us who the best teams are. I don't accept that. I don't accept it from the college football playoff. I say we have to have rules like the NFL. It says this is how you get in. These are the rules of how you get in. Maybe you say 2 teams per conference, whatever you want. Then you play the schedule out. You get the tiebreakers and so forth. Well, right now the number 1 and 2 teams are gone out of this tournament. And the thing that I saw is, Notre Dame is very, very solid. Georgia's not a dominant team. So on that game, that's my thoughts on that game.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that, listen, Georgia, they won their league, so they were in. But had they, lost that game to Texas, would they have gotten the same treatment that Florida State got last year for not having their quarterback?
Exactly, that question should have come up. But
they won the game, so it didn't matter.
The conference champions automatically get in. I like this better.
Yeah.
I like a 12-team playoff better than 4, and I like that you have automatic bids from conference champions. And by the way, a lot of criticisms out there about, the conference champions should not get a bye and move forward into those 4 games. Well, the reason why that is fair is because they played in a championship game to win that.
Yeah, they won that. They already won the game. Yeah.
So the teams that are sitting over to the side, like Ohio State, shouldn't be advantaged because SMU went and lost a game or something. So if you win the game, like Clemson got in because they won, they deserve to be there. I have no problem with the byes, but it's interesting that all the teams that got the byes lost.
Well, and 2 of the teams that got the byes were heavy underdogs.
Right.
They were 10 or 12-point underdogs. But
Boise State and Arizona State.
They want to, if they want these conference championships games to be a deal, because they have been the biggest deal, the biggest moneymaker, single-day moneymaker for these leagues for years. They have the Big 12 didn't have that game for a long time.
You said moneymaker. That's very important to them.
That's what it is. So if they're going to keep having those conference championship games, the Big 10 didn't have one forever, and they finally said, well, we got to have one of these things, right? And the Pac-12 finally started having it. Pac-12 was so kind of poorly put together, they just played it on campus. They said to come, you know what I mean? So everyone
Friday night,
they were
fit
all
it in.
Trying to copy the SEC, and the Big 12 was the second to the game on that. And then, when the Big 12 lost their conference championship game for those years that they were just playing the round robin. They were like, yeah, we're losing our data point, we're doing this, and we're losing
the money. Yes.
And they finally got that money back. So if you want people to come play in that game, you better reward them for playing in it because it is an extra game. So
absolutely,
I don't mind.
You have to have that.
I don't mind.
Otherwise, other people will say, I hope I lose the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
And there's a 4-way tie in the Big 12. You go, I hope I lose it because I can still get in the college football playoff, and I don't have to play that extra
Soon
game.
enough,
with
we'll be at
game.
16 games. There'll be no buys, and no one will complain.
Exactly.
Probably so. But I was impressed by Notre Dame. I thought Kirby Smart. I'm not a fan of Kirby Smart. I think Kirby Smart. Listen, I'm not a Georgia guy. So you look around at these coaches, and I think he whines a lot. I think he got kind of outcoached a little bit too. I thought the play in the fourth quarter where they sent they quick changed the punt team.
They sent their punt team out like normal.
Yeah.
And the punt team lined up.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's punt team lined up.
And then they ran.
And
off
they
the
waited
field.
for Georgia's punt return team, which is a different group of guys. Probably 8 of the 11 players are new from what the defense has. So they went out there and stood there for how long do you think? 3 to 5 seconds?
Probably, but there was plenty of time to run everyone off the field and back on, and then they
sprinted off.
Yes.
But there's certain rules. My son Stanton was there. He's a special teams coordinator at Toledo. That punt returner, the snapper, could not bend down and put his hands down by his knees, or they couldn't have done that.
Right.
And Kirby was yelling after the play was over, they can't do that. You kept showing him on Sonic, you can't do that. You can't run your punt team out and then run your offense out. That's illegal. And Stanton says it's not illegal as long as the snapper doesn't show
look like
that he's getting ready to snap. And if you watch it, go back and watch the replay, that dude's standing straight up with his hands high, and then his hands moved down toward his thighs as he was getting an athletic position to start sprinting because he was the slowest guy.
Right.
when they ran
snapper,
up.
Yeah.
He was on the right hash, and their bench was on the left sideline. So Notre Dame's punt team ran off the field. Offense ran on the field. The officials stopped the game and say,
you got to substitute.
You got to allow them to substitute. But Georgia was scrambling.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine what the defense is doing over there.
They
Coaches have grabbed each other.
Yeah.
Helmets are off, getting a drink of water, showing you an iPad.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're yelling, defense, defense. In fact, they had 13 guys run out there at first.
Mm-hmm.
The officials did a good job of saying, okay, we'll give you another second to get back to 11. Then they jumped off sides because they were just all
discombobulated.
Totally discombobulated.
That was just great stuff.
Great
that's
stuff.
Special team stuff you're talking about. So I like when Kirby Smart was mad. I like when Kirby Smart yelled at his walk-on player who cost him some points possibly in the deal. So I liked that part of watching him kind of get a little bit out-coached on that front. And I thought, listen, he's got a backup quarterback out there. You're in a game that's a 6-3 game at the end of the first half. Get to halftime.
And you're a great comeback team, a great second half team.
Does he think this Gunner Stockton is going to get his guys down the field to kick a long field goal? He's a college kid here, right? And
they didn't show any hint of that throughout the first half.
And he drops him back, and he gets just crushed.
Fumble.
Another quick change. Now Notre Dame, who had a hard time scoring, gets a touchdown. They're only
first play
touchdown of the game.
Little
right?
RPO.
Little RPO
nice
action,
throw.
wide open. So I saw it, and then obviously the kick return to start the second half was wild, and then they just kept the ball away from him. So I just give Notre Dame all the credit in the world. All the credit in the world for that. I thought that was really
And another young
stuff.
coach. Look at the young coaches that are coming on in college football.
Yeah, and that was a tough spot he got put into because Brian Kelly was very good. And he just kind of got the job given to him, and everyone's like, who's this guy?
He was a first-year defensive coordinator with Brian Kelly. He hadn't grown up with Brian Kelly, and they named him the head coach.
Yeah.
And he's done a great job. I know a guy who's on the staff with him right now.
And he's likable.
In his first year, and says, this guy's super solid. I mean, just
Brian Kelly is unlikable. Let's just say that.
Easily.
Nobody
Even to his players. Do you watch him in the game? Did you see LSU the other day?
Oh, my gosh. It's – so, listen, like I said before.
It's funny to see LSU just
I'm
in
no
disarray
Notre Dame,
also.
I'm no Notre Dame crazy fan, but I was last night. I was loving it. I was loving watching that game. All right, let's work back another game. Rose Bowl, I think people had a lot of hype for this. They thought it was going to be a really good game. Just over. I mean, just
I think it's very important that we point that out because there was a lot of criticism after the games on campus, okay, that, these teams shouldn't be in the college football playoff. And you say, well, why shouldn't they be? And the main reason was, well, the games just were not interesting. I mean, there's separation, and one team looked way better than the other, even though the spreads were, 2 touchdowns at the time?
Yeah,
the
like
domination
10,
was
12,
occurring.
13, yeah.
It looked like domination, but I want to point out, if you're going to say, Indiana should not be in the college football playoff, they did not compete in the game they played.
This game was worse than all of them.
SMU. Well, will someone please stand up who said those things the last week and a half or whatever? Say it about Oregon. Boy, Oregon should not be in the college football playoff. The domination obviously shows that they can't play in the same. We know that's a joke, right? We know that there are games that have separation. There's a lot of emotion. And I think, remember back in the Marty Schottenheimer days when Arrowhead rocked and the home field advantage was off the charts good? I don't think it's true now in the NFL nearly as much. These teams have adapted. They're in the shotgun. They can do silent snaps, all those things. But for the college kids, I think it was really hard to go to Ohio State or Penn State or Notre Dame and play those games. So I thought the home field advantage was part of it as well. But I really laughed when Oregon lost and got bombed because you go, okay, should we say that means Oregon shouldn't be in? It kind of covers up for other issues. But Oregon was just another team to me. I never bought in that they were anything other than a good football team. They had a nice regular season, but they're a good football team. And Ohio State played great. Will Howard went off, and he's got some guys to join with him.
Those wide receivers are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And, we were talking here in the office yesterday about Will Howard. He caught a lot of flack at K-State at times because he wasn't what people wanted. He was a fine quarterback who did some good things for them on occasion, but he just didn't have the big moments that they needed. He was never the guy. Like when he got forced in to play as a young player.
Yes, Skylar Thompson, an NFL player,
and
Kansas
so
City
he had
kid.
to play, and it was tough. He had some moments weren't great, and it's like, all right, it's going to be his team. Well, no, let's go get
Adrian Martinez from Nebraska.
Because we don't quite believe in this guy. All right, it's kind of your team, but now we got this freshman here. You know what I mean? So it never felt like it was ever his program, and
except for he did win a Big 12 championship. That last half that year, he
did, but it still wasn't his team that year. I mean, he came in when people got hurt.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Adrian Martinez started the year.
It was just so weird. Like he made the plays on that, but they maybe wouldn't have been there if he had played the whole year. Who knows? And then his last year there, it kind of was his team, but it wasn't because they had the kid. Avery Johnson was there, so Avery would get some snaps and get some things. And then
5 touchdown runs against Texas Tech,
and he'd get the writing was on the wall. And K-State made the choice. We're going to keep our young player because that's what you have to do in today's world. Because if you don't, they'll just go somewhere else. Someone will call them and say, here's money, and come play at my school. And so Will Howard is out there on the market. And I was, for one, a little bit shocked. It was like, Ohio State, this is what you're going to do? But they took him, and I think it shows a lot of things. He's a talented, big, strong guy. But if you get there's NFL players everywhere on his offense. Wide receiver, offensive lineman, whatever. You put a smart, experienced quarterback in with that, you can get some really great moments. It hasn't been perfect for him all year, but it all came together against this Oregon team. Were you happy for Will Howard as a guy who knows him, called his games, got to know him over the years?
Yes, I don't get to know every player on K-State's team. They have a roster of about 125, and that's not my thing to go hang out with the 20-year-old players. But usually I get to know the quarterbacks because they're just, for some reason, you run into each other. They recognize who the radio guys are quicker. We interview them after games and those kind of things. So absolutely, Will Howard and his family goes to the same church I do when they come to town. I got to know him. His little brother's still on K-State's team. He's a big old offensive lineman. You saw him in some of the videos probably after the game taking pictures with Will. But his brother's a big offensive lineman, a young guy for K-State. So I got to know Will Howard, and my son Landry was with him a long time as a wide receiver with Will Howard. So I've heard the reports back of not only what kind of person he is, good person, there's a lot of good people, but can he play football? Yeah. Landry was telling me absolutely he can play football, and he's underrated, and any criticism the fans have, they do not understand how good he is. I will say this, early in his career, the difference today than early in his career, other than the normal growth and experience that you get, is he's throwing a better spiral. I will tell you, when he was young, as a freshman at K-State, there were many times, where he'd flick the ball out of his hands and it would come out like a knuckleball. And his velocity, his ability to throw downfield and flick his wrist and have a 55-yard throw is kind of what the NFL quarterback needs to do. From 45 to 55 yards, you need to throw it like it's no big deal. After that, you got to heave it. But Will probably had to get his whole body in it. It's not easy for him to say he has great arm strength, but his accuracy, decent, and over his career has turned into great, but you don't see the ball spinning other than a spiral right now. Go back and watch the tapes.
Yeah.
He's throwing a spiral. It's become natural. His accuracy on the deep balls and all passes are pretty darn good. So he's improved in those areas. But his fight, his never give up, his belief, his ability to throw an interception and come back, which is so hard, to lose to Oregon the way he did at Ohio State.
Yeah.
A new guy loses to Ohio State.
I've been super impressed with him.
People would break him down. He is not able to be broken. You said the word correctly, smart.
Yeah.
This guy would be in the top 10% of NFL quarterbacks in how smart he is of understanding football.
I thought Ohio State may be broken after they lost to Michigan, but it just got them resolved, and they look like hell on wheels right now. They're very, very good. Stan Weber is here. We're on New Day with SSJ, breaking down college football. We'll still talk a lot of Chiefs coming up on this Friday morning. Welcome back into New Day with SSJ. We're talking to Stan Weber here in studio. Let's quickly run through a couple of other those games. Not much to say about Penn State, Boise. Boise looks like a pretty good team, but you can't turn the ball over 4 times and expect to beat Penn State. That's basically what I got out of that game.
Underdogs cannot play that way, and when your star player comes out in green shoes and you're a blue and orange team, you deserve to lose. You can wear bright shoes, man. Will Howard had red shoes on, real bright, special shoes for the game, but the color of the team. You can wear black shoes, white shoes, or the colors of your team. But this
They were done
coming
right
out
there.
with Green and getting, he just got stuffed.
Now,
Giante just stuffed.
I do want to talk more about the Arizona State-Texas game because
Yes.
that's a team you watched Texas play a lot over the years, and you got to see Arizona State up close and personal this year. One of the biggest wins for them was winning in Manhattan. They were down. You give up 70 yards in 2 plays to Texas, then you give up the punt return, all this stuff. They just kept fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. This Cam Scatterbo was just one of the more fun to watch college football players you've seen in a long time, and I think their quarterback is fun as well. They didn't get it done in the end, but just how about the heart of Arizona State to just keep fighting?
Well, their coach is someone who is starting to turn people's heads and say, I really like this guy. Every quote he's had, I loved what he said about the transfer portal. He couldn't have put it better than anybody else. You know what he said about that when he said, guys, I know you may want to transfer into portals right now. It's a weird time as we're getting ready for the college football playoff as he's talking to his team. It's a weird time, but it's not your fault. And if you want to transfer, that's fine. If you want to talk to your agents and you want to look into it, that's fine. Get it all done right now. But you're sure welcome to play for the Arizona State Sun Devils all the way through this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I want you to leave? You're part of this team. You can move on to the next school. That's the way to handle it.
Right.
Don't say, oh, this kid's looking to transfer. We got to boot him out of the complex. He may give secrets out. Well, I don't know why they're. No, the perfect thing is to say, it's not the player's fault. It's a system. And then even after this game, with the last plays of the game and regulation being a possible targeting, sure looked like targeting to me when I was watching the games.
You mean everyone in the world except for the official?
Yeah, and the replay official.
And them too. That's it.
The replay officials were the big ones because the officials didn't even call it a penalty.
Yeah.
So it goes to replay. But his response after the game was just perfect. He said, I don't know what targeting is, which is great. I don't know what it is. It's too inconsistently called. But he wasn't whining. He wasn't crying. He said, I need to do a better job. But you're right. I thought Cam Scatterbo was the difference in the Big 12 of why Arizona State won in a very tight conference. For instance, no one wants to talk about this or remember it. 4 teams tied for first place in the Big 12. And the reason why Arizona State and Iowa State got to go play in the next game to feature that, hey, they're playing for a championship is because of crazy tiebreakers. Fact is, as we dig into them, I'm not going to go through all the details, but Arizona State had a better record against common opponents, and there are 4 of them. I'll give them first place, but there's no reason why Iowa State should have been second. Why not Colorado? Why not BYU? It's crazy. But when Arizona State won the championship this year.
They did at least write the tiebreakers down this year.
Okay.
And followed them. That's a step better than last year.
Progress, okay.
Yeah.
But anyway,
we said this 6 months ago. There's going to be problems with tiebreakers in all these leagues.
Yeah, and there's not enough outrage yet. I'm still trying to create that outrage that we had 4 teams tied, and only one of them, even a tiebreaker mentality, has reason to move forward. In the NFL, I don't have a problem with the tiebreakers. They're very fair, and they have enough common games. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. But back to the game, Cam Scatterbo was the difference in the Big 12 because a lot of the games were close in the Big 12. This year was record-breaking in how tight it was. And, for instance, Arizona State was picked first and 16th last, and Utah first, and they flipped completely upside down. Oklahoma State was third to the bottom. This year, close games were made, and when it was 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3, everyone wants to make it and continue the drive. There's only one team who could count on making it. That was Arizona State with Cam Scatterbo. So I do absolutely think he was the difference. Sam Levitt deserves a ton of credit. I love the way that guy plays.
And they battled
the quarterback runs and throws.
They've got a really good wide receiver who got hurt late and he didn't get to play.
He is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he's a pro, and he didn't get to play in these last 2
I thought
games.
It would hurt him more than it did because Scatterbo was their second leading receiver throughout the season.
Yeah.
And now he looks like he can throw a little bit as well as he threw a touchdown pass in the game. But, good job by Arizona State. I predicted going into the game, I like to think about what was I thinking before the game started. I said right here that Scatterbo was reliable in getting those yards. I thought Texas is one of the fronts in college football that would create a problem and have enough power to slow him down in those situations. And
they did early.
And I think that's when the game was won. In my opinion, Arizona State was better than Texas, but they couldn't score because they were missing those 3rd downs and 4th and shorts near the goal line, and I thought that would be a matchup issue. So Texas, I can't buy into Quinn Ewers.
Although he made plays at the end.
But that throw he made on fourth down was unbelievable.
You're sitting here watching this thing happen, and you're like, all right, all you got to do is hold these guys to 12 yards on this play. How on earth do you – I don't mind the blitz, but if you blitz, I don't know if there's miscommunication somewhere. These guys at the back end just can't let that guy run right down between them. It's just devastating.
Well, it's so challenging because the reality is they thought the blitz was going to create a quick pass and a tackle before he gets a first down. And we saw that in a couple of games, including Georgia-Notre Dame. Notre Dame went for fourth down and missed. Yeah. And Georgia came back and threw a pass, and it was short. Mm-hmm. So you're thinking you're going to get the ball with 12 yards. We're going to either blow the play up, get the quarterback off balance, throw an incomplete pass, or if he completes it, they'll go tackle him immediately. K-State fans may remember in the game K-State did that in the bowl game against Rutgers. It was 4th and 8, and K-State brought the heat. They completed a pass, but they tackled him for a 2-yard gain. So the defenders are all on their toes in that example. They're in man-to-man or a type of zone that they're saying we're going to blitz and whatever they're playing behind it. They're on their toes to go forward. They didn't think the ball would be thrown over their head.
Yeah.
And it had to be a great throw.
Yeah, it was
It's
great.
not as if the free safety was an idiot and wasn't there. If that ball would have been thrown a little bit short, he would have knocked it away. And if it had been thrown a little bit long from Quinn Ewers, he would have thrown it out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah, it's a good pass.
Big time throw.
I just wish one of those two guys would have been a little more on their toes because it only takes just a half a step the wrong way.
Exactly.
And you're toast. But either way, Texas goes on. They get to play at the Cotton Bowl against Ohio State.
But Arizona State showed out.
They did.
And this whole idea that the Big Ten and the SEC play at a whole different level throughout the whole conference, their best teams have a lot of NFL players. Let's give it to them. Mm-hmm. The Georgias and Alabamas right now, the LSUs at one time. Well, Texas is a Big 12 team. Yeah. Come on, that's not an SEC team. They were built completely as a Big 12 team.
They got a little sticker on their chest.
Go look at their star players. They all came from the Big 12. This is a Big 12 team that showed you
dudes on the line that
they can match up just fine with the
SEC.
SEC, and Arizona State could match just fine with the SEC. College football parity was the story this year.
It is sort of funny if these SEC people start cheering for the SEC that they're going to be cheering for a Big 12 team because that's the only one they got left. That's the part that
do they all know how to do hook 'em?
We all know how to put that down. I did see some Arizona State people they would do the pitchfork up and then the horn down. I liked that one. That was good to see. Stan Weber is here on New Day. We're going to talk some National Football League next.